Hello there, very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. We're coming to you live and direct from our News First studios here in Colombo. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
News First Headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
CBSL reduces policy interest rates. Inflation to drop to single digits by the end of July. Pay tax to be amended by the end of the second half. Rupee continues to strengthen. Fuel prices reduced. Fuel queues in several areas. Minister says no fuel shortage and vows to cancel permits of petrol sheds that fail to maintain minimum stocks. Another spillage from the Express Pearl. Area fishermen allege. MIPA says there is nothing to worry. However, investigations are ongoing. General Shavendra Silva sends a letter of demand to parliamentarian Vimal Veeravansa. Social activist Bruno de Vaca remanded for a week. Protests surface against the draconian broadcasting bill.
News First Headlines. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
Taking a look at those stories in detail now, President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that nobody will be allowed to drag the country back to the state it was in a year ago. He said that his government's objective is to transform the country into a fully developed nation on the global stage by 2048, adding that failure to align the country's economy with the modern world and the latest trends in technology, the country will regress. President Wickremesinghe delivered a special statement on the National Transformational Roadmap on Thursday evening.
Addressing the government's efforts over the past 9 months to revive Sri Lanka's economy, the president said the country's economy is gradually recovering from the crisis thanks to correct policies, including the collective efforts of the people. Outlining the government's efforts to revive the country's economy, President Wickremesinghe said that these economic reforms will lead to decreased cost of living, improved standards of living, relief for the poor and a culture for transparency. President Ranil Wickremesinghe applauded the resilience of all Sri Lankans who navigated through the challenging times driven by their love for the country, and said by persisting a little longer on this trajectory, an economically stable future could be achieved, devoid of hardships. Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe said that the country's national transformation roadmap will be based on 4 pillars to drive economic growth, namely the state finance and financial reforms, investment promotion, social security net and the restructuring of state-owned enterprises. The president said the necessary reforms will be introduced to achieve long-term debt sustainability, while also introducing new economic policies that will renew faith on the country's economy.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ආර්ථිකය පූර්ණ පරිවර්තනයකට ලක් කිරීමේ ක්‍රියාදාමයේදී එවැනි නවීන තාක්ෂණයන් හා තිරසර ප්‍රයත්නයන්ද වැදගත් වෙනවා. මෙවැනි නවීන තාක්ෂණ හා තිරසර ප්‍රයත්නයන් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරලීම සඳහා තම තමන්ගේ ව්‍යාපාරික යෝජනා ඉදිරිපත් කරන ලෙස අප පුද්ගලික අංශයෙන් ඉල්ලා සිටිනවා. මෙම යෝජනා ක්‍රියාත්මක කරලීමේ පිළිවෙත සැකසීම උදෙසා අප අලුත් ක්‍රමවේදයක් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරනවා. ඒ ක්‍රමවේදය අප හඳුන්වන්නේ සංගායනා ක්‍රමවේදය යනුවෙන්. රාජ්‍ය අංශ හා පුද්ගලික අංශය අතර සහයෝගිතාවය ශක්තිමත් කරලීමේ අරමුණ ඇතිව සැකසෙන මෙම වැඩපිළිවෙල සඳහා ඒ ශේෂ්ත්‍ර පිළිබඳ විශේෂ දැනුම ඇති පිරිස් රාජ්‍ය නිලධාරීන් යෝජනාවට හෝ ව්‍යාකෘතියට අදාළ රේඛීය අමාත්‍යාංශ බලධාරීන් හා පෞද්ගලික අංශයේ නියෝජිතයන් එක් කර ගැනෙනවා.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has relaxed its monetary policy stance in its latest monetary policy review. Speaking at the press briefing at the Central Bank today, the Governor Nandalal Veerasinghe said that he expects inflation to near single digits by the end of July.
In a meeting held on Wednesday, the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka decided to reduce the standing deposit facility rate and the standing lending facility rate of the central bank by 250 basis points to 13% and 14% respectively. The board arrived at this decision with a view to easing monetary conditions in line with the faster than expected slowing of inflation, gradual dissipation of inflationary pressures and further anchoring of inflation expectations. The commencing of such monetary easing is expected to provide an impetus for the economy to rebound from the historic contraction of activity witnessed in 2022 while easing pressures in the financial markets.
By maintaining a strict monetary policy, we were able to stop inflation from rising in September. After that, we saw inflation coming down very fast. That is the reason why we began reducing interest rates from January. Inflation began to reduce more rapidly than we expected, and now we expect single-digit inflation by the end of July. We expect to maintain single-digit inflation even after that. Therefore, we thought to reduce interest rates along with the reduction in inflation. This will help to further reduce interest rates in the future.
The governor of the central bank said that Sri Lanka has been able to achieve the target of single-digit inflation 1 year before the deadline of the IMF. The governor hinted on the possibility of reducing the pay tax during the second half of the year.
Against the current backdrop, we believe that commercial banks will soon reduce their interest rates. The usable reserves has come to about 1,670 million. In addition, if we receive funds from the World Bank and the ADB, the country's economy would be able to achieve some sort of stability and look towards economic development. We hope to bring some sort of economic development in the second quarter by relaxing the monetary policy and reducing pay tax and the drop in inflation.
Journalists questioned as to how soon the change in interest rates would come against a backdrop where the interest on treasury bills are above 25%.
The uncertainty is because the government has still not announced their plans on debt restructuring. The highest interest rates are on treasury bills. We call it the premium of uncertainty. It will reduce a lot once the plan is announced. We hope that the rest would also reduce in due course.
යම් ආකාරයක බලපෑමක් වෙනත් දේශීය ණය ප්‍රතිව්‍යුහගත කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඒක ගැන පොඩි පැහැදිලි කිරීමක් තාමත් නැති තත්ත්වයක් යටතේ මේක ගැටලුවක් වෙන එකක් නෙමෙයිද? දේශීය ණය ප්‍රතිව්‍යුහගත කන්ට්‍රිය රජයේ ණයනේ. ප්‍රතිව්‍යුහගත කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් මොකක් හරි එකක් තියෙනවද එහෙම? ඒක රජයේ.
The government is discussing about it. I believe an announcement on that will be made soon.
මුලින් සඳහන් වුණා භාණ්ඩාගාර බිල්පත් මහ බැංකුව සතු දේශීය ණය ප්‍රතිව්‍යුහගතකරණයේදී යම්කිසි කොටසක් සලකා බලනවායි කියලා. මේ කාරණේ හරහා මොන වගේ බලපෑමක්ද වෙන්න පුළුවන්? ඒක රජය ප්‍රකාශ කරන්නේ මේ.
The government announced that only treasury bills of the central bank will be restructured. We have conducted a study into that. I believe that we are in a position where we can manage it.
Against a backdrop where the environment is conducive for interest rates to be reduced, fuel prices were also reduced last night. Price of 92 octane petrol was reduced by 15 rupees per litre to 318 rupees. Lanka kerosene was reduced by 50 rupees to 245 rupees. Industrial kerosene was reduced by 60 rupees to 270 rupees. Meanwhile, the rupee continues to appreciate against the US dollar. The buying rate of the US dollar was 283 rupees and 87 cents. And the selling rate was at 297 rupees and 23 cents. The dollar was trading against the rupee at a rate of 362 rupees by the end of February 2023. While the several of these main factors affecting the economy showing improvement, has the general public received the benefit of this?
ඩොලර් එක සහ විශේෂ සීනි පරිප්පේම ඉම්පෝට් බඩුත් පොඩක් අඩු වෙලා තියෙනවා. පරිප්පේම දැන් 330යි 35යි 40ට ගිය එක අද 270යි 260යි. බඩු මිල අඩු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. අඩු වෙලා තවත් අඩු වෙයි කියලා වෙළඳ එන්නෙත් නෑ බඩු ගන්න. අපිටත් ගොඩක් පාඩු මේ බඩු ඔක්කොම සවුතුත් වෙනවා. කඩකාරයට ඕන ඕන විදිහට විකුණන්න.
ඒක තමයි නවත්ත ගන්න ඕනේ අපිට. වැඩි වෙනකොට වැඩි කරනවා අඩු කරන්නේ. ඒක හරි කැතයි නේද?
සාපේක්ෂව බඩු පිළ අඩු වෙලා නැහැ. සමහර ඒවා අඩු වෙලා තියෙනවා. සමහර ඒවා ඇත්තටම අඩු වෙලා නැහැ.
රට තිබ්බ තත්ත්වෙත් එක්ක ඉතින් මේ යන විදියත් හොඳයි කියලා හිතන එක අතකින්.
මෙලෝ දෙයක් අඩු වෙලා නැහැ. හැම දෙයක්ම ගණන් වැඩිනේ. ටයර් එක වැඩි, සර්විස් කරන රුපියල් 10 10000ක් 11000ක් ගන්නවා. පැට්‍රල් රුපියල් 5කින් 10කින් අඩු කරලා මොනා කරන්නද කියන්නකෝ. අපි ජීවත් වෙනව නෙමෙයි, තෙල් ගැව්වොත් කන්න නැහැ. කන්න ගත්තොත් තෙල් නැහැ. මේකද වෙලඳ මාපියාවක් තියෙන්නේ.
බඩු මිල අඩු වුණොත් ඉතින් අපිට හයර් ගාස්තු අඩු කරන්න පුළුවන්.
ඉස්සෙල්ලා කිව්වා ඩොලර් එක නිසා කියලා. දැන් මොකක්ද දන්නේ කියන්නේ?
ඒක අඩු වුණා කියලා ලොකු වෙනසක් වෙලා නැහැ.
ඩොලර් එක කොච්චර අඩු වුණත් මේ රෙදි මිල කියන එක අඩු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි කොළඹ ගිහිල්ලා රුපියල් 60 70ට ගෙනාපු එක දැන් ගන්න 160යි 170යි. අපි මිනිස්සුන්ට අපිට දෙන්න බෑනේ. මොන අඩුවීමක්ද මේක?
What do economists say about the situation?
This appreciation can be artificial. Usually the rupee appreciates when our exports increase, but instead of that, this could also happen artificially. Secondly, when the rupee appreciates, it does not immediately reduce the cost of production because raw material have been purchased before and stocked. One thing that the government should remember is that there could be some failures in going to where we want to go. There is a risk of a few who control the market to manipulate it. We can see that in the production sector and the construction industry, since a few individuals control the distribution, they get the benefit of it without giving it to the people. At a time like this, the government must intervene in creating an environment to promote competition.
අන්නේ තරංකාරී වෙළඳපොළක් ඇති කිරීම සඳහා අවශ්‍ය සියලුම ක්‍රියාමාර්ග රජයේ මැදිහත්වීම වගේ සිදුවෙන එක.
අපේ රට තුල සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපිට
What we see in Sri Lanka is that when the value of the rupee depreciates, the prices of goods rise fast. But when the value of the rupee appreciates, the benefit of this does not go to the public. This is the reason why the prices of goods in the country are still high. The Consumer Affairs Authority has a huge responsibility here. They should be able to investigate as to if the people are truly feeling the benefit of the appreciation of the rupee. Hold discussions with the businessmen and they must intervene to give the true benefit of this to the general public. I believe that the central bank and the Ministry of Finance must look into this and take steps to ensure that the benefit of this goes to the public.
වාසිය ජනතාවට ලබා දීම සඳහා මේ වෙලාවේ ක්‍රියා කළ යුතුයි කියලා මම විශ්වාස කරනවා.
This was the response of the governor of the central bank.
Despite the depreciation of the US dollar against the Sri Lankan rupee, why haven't we seen a reduction in the price of food and essential items? Why has this appreciation of the rupee not been reflected in our cost of living?
Yeah, I think it is quite natural. If you look at the items those are imported now, are not the items imported at the today exchange rate. Those probably have been imported and priced at earlier rates. So any adjustment in the exchange rate, there's a transmission period, time lag. So what we would expect, that's why even press release we mentioned that the impact of the appreciation would not fall in the prices immediately. So people who are importing, what they are getting now is what they have ordered, placed orders 2-3 months ago. So that's any economy, that's how it adjusts. It will adjust certainly. That's why we think inflation will be coming down. Price levels will be much more stable when we see the impact of the appreciation would reflect and transmit into actual prices going forward. Local food prices, there's a seasonal thing, no? There's again a demand and supply. Now these days, it's usually vegetable and local food prices supply is low, so there are temporary increase in prices. Once supply comes back, harvest coming back, those are short-term local food prices always volatile. I don't think exchange rate also should play some role because it competes with imported items, but there's nothing much imported. So those are short-term volatilities that we can expect depending on demand and supply conditions.
Although fuel prices were reduced since midnight yesterday at the monthly fuel price revision, queues were seen at several filling stations across the country today. A number of filling stations in Mathura were closed without fuel and long queues were seen at filling stations that were open. Petrol was not released today at both filling stations in Velikandheria in Polonnaruwa. This is the situation in Colombo. Long queues were also seen near filling stations in Ampara, Uhana today. Meanwhile, Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara in a tweet requested the public not to panic on fuel shortages as CPC and Lanka IOC has adequate stocks. The minister points out that the shortage is due to non-placement of orders by filling station owners anticipating a fuel price reduction. The minister pointed out that the dealers have been required to maintain a minimum stock of 50%. The minister added that he has asked the CPC to review and suspend the license of filling stations that had not maintained minimum stocks.
A protest was staged by patients and several others requesting for a pharmacist at the Panvilatana District Hospital in Gampola.
About 6,000 families from 18 Grama-Niladari divisions receive treatment from this hospital that is more than 75 years old. Hospital authorities said 300 patients visit the outpatient department daily and an additional 200 patients attend clinic. When you travel from Panvilatana to Gampola, there is no hospital. There are no hospitals from here to Morahena. There is none towards that side until Galhena. There is no hospital available till Pusella. There is no hospital between here and Gampola. So all of this starts from the Panvilatana hospital.
We are suffering a lot to get medicine. Even if you go to Gampola, you need 2,000 rupees for a three-wheel. Sometimes there are no buses. Please give us a pharmacist. I have a cough and asthma and I don't have money to buy medicine. I borrowed 100 rupees. There is no pharmacist to give medicine.
The only employees at the hospital are 3 doctors, 2 nurses and an ambulance driver. Because of this situation, the operations of the hospital are limited to only one building at the premises. The employment of the pharmacist who worked on a contract basis had also been suspended a month ago.
We were told that the treasury doesn't pay their salaries anymore. But we do not have anyone to work as a pharmacist for free. We do not have anyone to give medicine. We only have 2 nurses and it is difficult to manage with only the 2 of them because there are so many in-house patients at the wards.
Should the people's access to healthcare, which is a basic need, be allowed to slide further into crisis? Isn't this a situation that needs immediate attention?
Meanwhile, fishermen of the Handalatal-Dievat area said that they have observed another oil leakage from the shipwreck of the Express Pearl.
When a group of fishermen told us that there is another leakage from Express Pearl shipwreck, we all went there to find out whether it's true. Yes, there's a definite oil leakage from the shipwreck. You can see the oil patch spreading across the ocean. Oil is far worse than the plastic nurdle that came washing ashore. How are we supposed to harvest fish when there is oil in the water? How are we to feed our families? We cannot go fishing because of the oil leakage from the shipwreck. Our livelihoods is threatened today due to this maritime disaster. Yes, we saw it with our own eyes. There is a considerable amount of oil that has leaked from the shipwreck.
Meanwhile, the court case which was filed by environmentalist Dr. Ajanta Pereira at the Commercial High Court seeking compensation for the damage the Express Pearl disaster caused to our marine environment was postponed to the 15th of July. The case was postponed owing to several parties to the case requesting more time to pursue the case documents. Marine life will move away from this area owing to this oil leakage. This will affect our fishing industry and we still don't know what's in those containers which are underwater right now. There can be chemicals. We can see some sort of chemicals being mixed with these oils. These chemicals will now be consumed by the marine life in this area, and how are we supposed to eat this fish? This will be a blow to our country's economy. However, the chairman of the Marine Environment Protection Authority, Attorney Asela Rakava, rejected these claims of an ongoing leakage from the Express Pearl shipwreck. MIPA further stated that they inspected the shipwreck area recently together with the Sri Lanka Navy and no oil spill was observed during their inspection. However, he further stated that an expert team has to be deployed to collect samples from the area to inspect further.
Meanwhile, the lumpy skin disease spreading among cows has spread to several other areas in Kurunegala. The Northwestern Veteran Divisions reported yesterday that the lumpy skin disease or skin nodule disease, which has spread in 35 out of 46 veteran divisions in the Northwestern province, has infected 2,000 cows. Veterinaries say that the infected cows have spread the disease in Kurunegala, Kakunugolla, Madalasa and other areas. Vaccination programs to control the disease are currently underway.
Meanwhile, the species of worm that is spreading across paddy cultivation in several areas of the Polonnaruwa Madrigiri area has spread to the paddy fields of Yayatuna village. Farmers reported that only 25% of 300 acres of paddy fields were found with this species of worm.
Nobody from the Department of Agriculture came to look at this. These worms started to spread after we used the first sack of fertilizer. These plants are about 19 to 20 days old. We don't know if it's a problem with the fertilizer or something from the compost. There are about 3 to 4 worms on each plant. On average, about 25 kilograms of rice is eaten per day in a 3-acre field. Please give us a solution to this. I think the worms started to spread from the compost given to us in the last season. Those eggs must have been in them. When the compost was put, they must have come out. The paddy plants are all gone.
Meanwhile, a species of insect is spreading across the coconut cultivation. The coconut plantation owners say that the insect damages the sap of the coconut tree and the sap that comes later takes on a burnt appearance. This is how the insect has spread across the coastal areas in the southern province in the Gaul and Mathura districts.
The Brontispa insect damage has been detected in Gaul. This is the first time that this has been identified in Sri Lanka. We, the Coconut Research Institute and the Coconut Cultivation Board, identified this disease about a month ago from near the Dodanduwa bridge in Gaul to the Ahangame area. This insect has spread along the coastal area on a belt of about 1 kilometer towards the land side. We assess that the damage has spread to about 4,000 trees so far.
News first with the people.
We'll bring you more news after this short commercial break.
When a heart attack strikes, every minute makes the difference between life and death. With the right care and treatment at the hand of the most skilled surgeons and medical professionals. With the perfect environment for recovery. Darden's Heart Center, dedicated to you.
ඉන්ෂුරන්ස් කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? සුපර්මාකට් එකෙන් වගේ තෝරලා බේරලා ගැලපෙන මේ ඉන්ෂුරන්ස් එක අරගන්න නම් මේ තියෙන ඉන්ෂුරන්ස් සුපර්මාකට් එක. ඉන්ෂුරන්ස් එක ගන්නවා නම් ඉන්ෂුරමි එක්ක කතා කරන්න. ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ඉන්ෂුරන්ස් සුපර්මාකට් එක insurme.lk.
Gammedda extends its hand of hope, this time to the central hills of Sri Lanka. A state-of-the-art renovated ward complex at the Department of Oral Maxillofacial and Oral Surgery at the University of Peradeniya Teaching Hospital was handed over to the general public. Gammedda. For the people, by the people.
Welcome back to the news. Social media activist Bruno de Vaca, who was arrested by the Criminal Investigations Department, has been remanded till the 7th of June after he was produced before the Colombo Fort Magistrates Court today. He was arrested on charges of aiding and abetting Natasha Surya in allegedly making a controversial statement.
The Criminal Investigation Department presented Bruno de Vaca before Fort Chief Magistrate Tilina Kamage this morning. The application for bail made on behalf of Bruno de Vaca was rejected and he was remanded until the 7th of June.
Bruno
was specifically arrested for aiding and abetting statements made by previous arrested Natasha Surya. He has shared her speech on social media networks through the social media channel he runs. He was arrested under the International Convention on Civil and Political Rights Act, also Section 120 of the Penal Code, Section 291 and Section 6 of the Organised Crimes Act clearly indicate that these types of activities are illegal. So aiding and abetting such thing is also an offence under Section 101 of the Penal Code. That is why he is being arrested on the charge of aiding and abetting this act.
වරදක්. අනේ නිසා තමයි ආධාර අනුබල දීම යටතේ තමයි ඔහුව අත්අඩංගුවට අරගෙන තිනේ මේ ක්‍රියාවට අනුබල දීම කියන චෝදනාව මත. අපගේ ස්ථාවරය වන්නේ මෙය ICCPR.
Our position is that this is not a serious offence falling under Section 3 of the ICCPR Act. No offence has been committed under Section 120 and Section 291 of the Penal Code. The time when the statement was made, the context in which the statement was made, and the person who made the statement, the place are all considered, and the legal decisions are made to determine whether something can be considered as malicious hate speech. It is not determined by the CID or other people. It is a legal decision. It is very difficult to get bail. If a case is filed under Section 291 of the Penal Code, the prior approval of the Attorney General is required. So it is our position that the law is being misused in this way because that prior approval is not obtained.
Meanwhile, various factions are showing their opposition to the proposed broadcasting regulatory bill that carries the statutory power to imprison journalists, to fine them and to even cancel the broadcasting licenses of electronic media organizations. The proposed bill will empower a commission of 5 to investigate into allegations made on reporting of material that affects national security, religious harmony and the national economy. The commission also carries the power to take action against parties in these alleged incidents. The proposed bill will empower the Commission to investigate into incidents on their own without any complaints being made and will also allow them to enter the premises of media organizations and confiscate any recorded materials. Keep in mind, rights mean that people can lose their rights, the rights of those who they don't like and can be violated. But it stops at the point where ideas are controlled, because today you are the one who is imprisoned by those laws. If someone else doesn't like your opinion, this is your opinion being suppressed. The best way for the people to protect against rulers is to speak out. These acts are brought to suppress the people, speaking against injustice. The law is being misused.
In Singapore, you can read newspapers in the morning, but if you say something other than what is in the newspaper, you will be fined about 100 Singaporean dollars. So the media organizations should not misuse the freedom. Those people who speak are always speaking of transforming Sri Lanka into Singapore, China or even Europe. If Sri Lanka is to be transformed into Europe, we must introduce those rules and regulations too. We state very clearly in 1997, Chandrika Bandanayak Kumaratunga's government also came to play this game. This bill was thrown out. After that, what did this government do? They suppressed the media organizations and journalists they didn't like. To weaken the media organizations, they stopped the advertisements of the government-owned institutions and controlled them. We would like to say to President Ranil Wickremesinghe, you are the one that taught everyone in the United National Party what democracy means. I am astounded. We like to tell the people we will take this to courts, but you must be against this.
හැබැයි ඔබ මේකට විරුද්ධ වෙන්න කියලා අපි ජනතාවගෙන් ඉල්ලීමක් කරනවා.
No, we will not allow the majority to be used for passing anything. We say this as a government and the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. There may be times when we have to take an unpopular decision. If something bad happens in the present or someday in the future, we will definitely talk about it before raising our hands.
යම් අයහපතක් සිද්ධ වෙනවා නම් ඒ පිළිබඳව අපි අපේ අත ඔසවීමට පෙර අනිවාර්යෙන්ම අදහසක් කතා කරන්න.
The Chief of Defence Staff General Shavendra Silva has sent a letter of demand to Parliamentarian Vimal Weerawansa. In the letter, Parliamentarian Vimal Weerawansa has been accused of making a false statement defamatory of the army at a book launch. General Shavendra Silva had said that he will take steps to enforce the laws of the land to respond to these fabricated accusations defamatory to the entire armed forces made to achieve petty political goals. Entrepreneur Dili Jayavira responded in this regard today at Kaudagala Aranya Senasana in Polonnaruwa.
I do not appreciate the introduction of new laws that would restrict the freedom of speech of the people. This goes against the teachings of Buddhism. Buddhism is the most liberal vision in the world. Within this vision, we have been given the freedom to give an interpretation about the great Siddhartha and Lord Buddha. It is proven via the life of Lord Buddha as well. It is said that I made comments that disrespect the character of Siddhartha some 4 years back. As Lord Buddha has mentioned many times before, some things need to be taught and said in a manner that the listeners understands it. The comments I made to a special group during a special event in an attempt to grab their attention is being criticized today. What I wanted to say was how great Prince Siddhartha was and the fact that he added many concepts to our lives so that we can live happily. That is what is important. We need to look at everything with an objective manner. That means when a death takes place, there was no objective. There are legal provisions to set him free or to impose a lesser punishment.
Meanwhile, the Radical Democratic Power called a press conference in Colombo today.
මේක ඉදහස් මතධාරී Bruno de Vaca කියන්නේ විකල්ප මතධාරී මාධ්‍ය ආයතනයක් තමයි.
They are free thinkers. Bruno de Vaca is someone who owns a different opinion. His media organization did a lot to work in the recent past. They worked towards publicizing many news opinions. There are many loopholes and drawbacks in the system. They are using these loopholes to do all this. So now they are spreading racism and religious extremism using all this.
අතිවාදයේ වපුරවන්න ආගමික මුතුවතු වපුරවන්න ඒක හින්දා මේ සියලු තත්ත්වයන් පාවිච්චි කරමින් ඉන්නවා. මේක ඇවිල්ලා මේ වෛරය වපුරලා මිනිස්සු අතර බෙදීම් ඇති කරලා මේ රට ආය පාරක් කාලකන්ණි කරන්න හදන හැමෝටම කියන්නේ.
I'm saying this to all those who are trying to spread hate and drag this country towards misery once again. Bruno was arrested. What was the reason for this arrest? Why wasn't Dili Jayavira arrested? That is also the media institution. He also insulted Buddha. So why wasn't he arrested? There can be differences with the opinion of SL Vlogs. We might not agree with them. They tried to change the system and also to form a new political direction. They figured that we cannot be suppressed, so they started suppressing the social media activists. They are trying to destroy the people's freedom of expression and speech. So if the people once again start to take to the streets with flags and placards, they will be suppressed too.
එතකොට එහෙම බැලුවොත් ඒව දැන් එකපාරක් ආයේ මේ මිනිස්සු කොඩියක් අරගෙන පාරට බැසොත් බෝඩ්යක් අරගෙන පාරට බැසොත් දායි එළියට.
The 2023 French Spring Festival will be held this year after a hiatus of 3 years.
The French Spring Festival is back this year and will be held from the 24th of June till the 13th of July. This event will mark the beginning of celebrations to continue of 75 years of diplomatic relations between Sri Lanka and France. The 11th edition of the festival is being organized by the Embassy of France in Sri Lanka and Maldives and the network of Alliance Francaise in Sri Lanka and Maldives. The Ambassador of France to Sri Lanka and the Maldives, Jean-François Pacte, expressed these views regarding the event.
The last time we organized the French Spring Festival was in 2019, and because of COVID we were not able to organize it afterwards. So we are very excited to be able to organize it this year, and there will be events about music, movies, and several kind of events. It is open, it is free for all. All are invited, so please spread the word and have a look at the program and come. This is really an opportunity to celebrate the French and the Sri Lankan culture, and to celebrate being together and being able to participate and to enjoy being together after the time of COVID. So we are happy to organize this this year in 2023.
An International Music Day dedicated to French and Sri Lankan music will be held on the 24th of June, while a photographic exhibition will be held on the 5th of June. A French film festival will also be held from the 6th of July till the 9th of July at the National Film Corporation.
The World Bank, the IMF and Sri Lanka held a discussion on Wednesday on the restructuring of balance sheets of the Ceylon Electricity Board.
Talks were held on Wednesday on restructuring the balance sheets of the Ceylon Electricity Board. The discussion was held with the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund and the Ministry of Power and Energy in Sri Lanka. Power and Energy Minister Kanchana Vijayasekara said that World Bank experts will work with the CEB and the IMF to provide advice and options to restructure the existing project loans. Payments due to the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation, renewable developers, IPPs and other suppliers, working capital loans obtained from state banks, other loans obtained, recovery of losses for 2023 and the business plan of the CEB will also be discussed. The minister said that with the options made available, the ministry will submit the strategy to restructure the balance sheets of the CEB to the Cabinet of Ministers for approval.
The U.S. House of Representatives has passed a bill to raise the U.S. debt ceiling, which brings Washington closer to averting a historic default.
The House of Representatives voted 314 to 117 on Wednesday in favor of the bill after 165 Democrats sided with 149 Republicans and allowed McCarthy to see off a rebellion from some members of his own party. The bill must still pass the Senate and be signed by President Joe Biden to go into effect before the 5th of June deadline, but the House vote was seen as the biggest risk to the legislation. Republican House Speaker Kevin McCarthy faced a divided party as he rallied votes for the 99-page deal. The government is forecast to hit its borrowing limit on Monday the 5th of June. That has left little margin for error as lawmakers race to avoid the US defaulting on its $31.4 trillion debt, which underpins the global financial system. The agreement suspends the debt ceiling, the spending limit set by Congress, which determines how much money the government can borrow until the 1st of January 2025. A default would mean the government could not borrow any more money or pay all of its bills. It would also threaten to wreak havoc on the global economy, affecting prices and mortgage rates in other countries.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in Moldova for a summit bringing together leaders of at least 40 European countries to discuss the war in Ukraine.
The group called the European Political Community was formed following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine last year. President Zelensky reiterated he's working on support for a coalition of powers to supply fighter jets to help Ukraine repel Russian forces, and that he will also discuss his peace plan. Meanwhile, on Tuesday, a dashboard camera captured the moment when a part of a missile fell next to a car driving on a Kyiv road as Russia launched its 16th attack on Ukraine's capital. Video showed parts of the missile falling on the road right in front of a driving car, which then continued to drive on.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News on TV1. But before we leave you tonight with a cartoon that was published on the newspaper Other. Thank you very much for watching. Take care and God bless.